All right. Good afternoon, and thank you guys all for tuning in to Muskogee Media. We're going to bring you one of our weekly updates. We have got Jason Salzman in the chair and on a Zoom meeting. We're practicing the social distancing, and we appreciate everybody's accommodation of our technical formats as we do this and get through this all. I'm going to have Jason pretty regularly on our show. I think is the idea. We've set up a weekly kind of get together here to talk about topics. From the past week and things coming up. So we just kind of recap what we've been through in the last week or so. Jason, can you give us the rundown?
Absolutely, Angel. And I want to thank you all again, Muskogee Media, once again for the opportunity to come on and share the transparent executive branch of your Muskogee Creek Nation government with the citizens and open up for questioning anything that your reporters and your producers there at Muskogee Media would like to know for the viewers and the Muskogee Creek people out there. So that's our main objective. That's why we're doing
And that,
this. And just to give you a rundown, of some exciting things that we've got coming up. This past weekend, we were able to feed over 2,500 Creek families in a little under 72 hours of planning. It really came together very quickly. First got a word Monday from our partners at the Five Tribes that there may be an opportunity for a shipment of over 38,000 pounds of produce from the Walmart Corporation. We quickly worked in tandem with the other tribes and sort of figured out a way to just get this truck here. And we were able to finally find out that Wednesday, around 3 o'clock, I think 4 o'clock, we found out, hey, the truck's on the way from Arkansas. It needs to go to River Spirit. And we all jumped in the car and got up to River Spirit. The chief, the second chief, the chief staff, and the leadership team up there at River Spirit watched the truck come in, stored the food there, and from there, it was an all hands on deck approach. We had over 150 plus volunteers from all walks of Muskogee Creek Nation. We had casino employees doing a huge part of that. Want to send them a shout out. Also, the acting Secretary of Community and Human Services, Ms. Sean Partridge, did a phenomenal job of pulling this all together with Anna Sterner. Anna is our food distribution manager and does a phenomenal job. She's done very good work throughout this crisis to make sure that that department, that program, has not been interrupted. We know that the call-in system right now is a little bogged down. We're working to even fix that a little bit, where the wait times aren't as long. But Anna and her staff, in a short staff model, are doing just a fantastic job. Them working together with our fleet management GSA manager, Mr. Shane Holaby, got a bunch of box trucks lined up. What we did is we said, guys, we're going to get one shot at this, and it's going to have to be very quick. We identified 9 distribution sites, different community centers and casinos. I'm sure everybody out there knows all about it. I don't have to go into the particulars, but we're so very proud that in such a short amount of time, we were able to get vital nutrients, fruits, vegetables to our Muskogee Creek elders and the people that are in the greatest need at this time. We know we can't feed everybody. We know we can't meet every need. We regret that every need cannot be met, but we feel good about the numbers that we were able to meet, and we feel good about the fact that we're continuing to explore and seek out more opportunities to do things just like that. So it was a great weekend. It was a good Friday. It was an even better weekend for Muskogee Creek Nation. And, we were able to kind of recharge our batteries. Hope everybody had a great Easter Sunday. Recharge our batteries, get right back to work this Monday morning.
I will say that like it was kind of like I went and visited at Dewar and picked up my groceries, and it was kind of a neat little care package to have at like just a really weird time for everyone, and we made some fabulous salsa.
Oh,
So
great. Yeah.
very good. And it was nice to just even socially distance, see people's faces out and about. I know that they were working and they were volunteers, but it was good to kind of like, even from afar, just to make eye contact, wave, and encourage everybody to keep on doing what they do. It was kind of interesting. I was getting reports from you guys as it was playing out. We were kind of monitoring. Some of the sites had just tremendous numbers of people served. I was just going to kind of read through a few of them real quick. Like Tulsa had 415, Okmulgee had 378, Eufaula 226, Holdenville 320, Muskogee 240, Okemah 230, Bristow 209. So all those different sites were in the communities where people were, able to access it kind of locally. Um, it was really quick turnaround. I was pretty impressed by that too, to learn that it just a few, a day or so that people kind of organized this out and got it all together. Logistic wise was kind of a little bit of a miracle to do something like that in such a short amount of time. But that kind of speaks to what the tribe does best, is really to get out there and connect with its community. Do you have any idea how many of the One Muskogee volunteers were a part of that? Was that something that you guys put the call out for?
We did put the call out for One Muskogee volunteers, and there were One Muskogee volunteers at different locations. It was
Mhm.
sort of just a massive email to everybody. This is where we're going to be available. This is where we're going to maybe need some help, everything like that. As far as numbers, I wouldn't know an approximate number because it was kind of a here's your chance, and if you want to go out there and pull together, here it is. And if you do, you know what I mean? Send us pictures, everything like that. So we were able to kind of keep tabs on it a little bit. I wouldn't have you an exact number, but I know that the response has been great. We have people daily still signing up on the database. Once again, we're doing a great job and really not needing a lot of volunteers right now in certain areas. That doesn't mean that we won't. Again, I want to stress that. That doesn't mean that we won't, but it just means that we've done lots of proactive preparation to get in front of this thing as best we can. And so far, it's lent itself to us being able to keep a lot of those gaps filled up without having to rely on outside people. Because really, we want to keep everything in house because um, these are our employees anyway. A lot of them on administrative leave, just don't have anything, to do really. They don't have any job. Uh, some of them are in jobs that you can't really do from home. So this
Right.
gives them a reason to continue working, continue to be a part of, then they're also um, eh, under our the umbrella of the tribe's employee base. So you don't have to worry about maybe contracting them or maybe making sure that they have coverage or anything like that in any kind of liability situation or anything like that. So really, it's nice for us to be able to pull all those in as much as we can, and we can also fall back on the fact that those folks are going to know what we're asking them to do mostly, or with social distancing and everything. Like we want everybody out there to be social distancing, but we know we've told our employees more than one occasion, hey,
Mhm.
be doing this. If you're going to be home, shelter in place, things like that. So
Yeah.
it's just a more of a comfort thing.
I think a lot of the folks that I've talked to who are volunteering their time are also saying that it has some tremendous good, positive mental health aspects for them, because at times when you are frustrated with the situation, you don't feel like you can do anything about it, that they're finding an outlet to go and put themselves to work, and in a way that they feel that they're helping out. So that's kind of another positive aspect. And if anybody's interested who's out there watching, because we are live and they are taking questions online. If you're watching this, you can ask your questions in our forums. What could we let them know as the way to get a hold of being a volunteer in that respect?
Yeah, just simply just email me, jsalzman at mcn-nsn.gov. Your name and your contact information will go into the One Muskogee Volunteer Database, which has your name, contact information. That way, when the need arises, we just go down the list. We send out the emails. This is where we need you. This is what type of work we're needing. This is what we're looking at.
Mhm.
And right now, I would say that we're getting close to a situation where we probably will be reaching out as far as maybe some help with our telephone system at the food distribution program. Just kind of getting bogged down with calls, things like that. So that would be an area where we're kind of looking at and sort of, again, proactive, getting in front of things. Not in the
Mhm.
need right now, but we're just kind of looking at marking it down.
Right.
Hey, let's keep an eye on that, and maybe that's something where we can pull this in. And just to give everybody out there that wants to volunteer kind of an idea of maybe the kind of work that you would be asked to do, or and maybe prepare yourself to be able to facilitate that if you need.
Sounds like it's been a pretty busy and upbeat kind of week, and some solutions based kind of things going on. What is coming up on the horizon for us through the next week or so?
And that's what's been kind of nice about this week. It's we were talking just a moment ago. The second chief said, you hope this isn't just kind of a lull before the storm, but we also, kind of all of us kind of together told ourselves it's gotten kind of quiet and it's gotten kind of settled down a bit. We feel like we've done everything we possibly can to kind of get structurally where we need to be as a complex and as a government to keep things running on a day-to-day basis as best that we can. Again, we know that this is an imperfect process right now. Not everything is going to be perfect for you out there, citizens, to call it. Maybe you have to wait a little while or for your food distribution, or maybe you don't get in the first time, or you have to try again, things like that. We apologize. We understand. We know that that is an inconvenience, and we regret that that is an inconvenience. But the bottom line is, we're just trying to pull A together right now and do the best we can. But we have been able to, and I'm glad that you said what you said, because we have been able to sort of um, kind of sit over here for a minute, COVID-19. Let us take care of some important tribal things. And we've really been able to do that this week. The principal chief is just thrilled to be able to announce a policy in place for maternity leave. We haven't had that at the tribe, and we're going to be able to roll that out. There's going to be an announcement on that forthcoming, probably as soon as tomorrow, maybe the next day from HR. We're also going to be returning the donated sick leave aspect to that as well, which is a wonderful thing that we think that will really help out not only at this time but going forward as well. So those are a couple of in-house things that we're really proud of to be able to talk about. And one of the things is we've thought for a long time the chief comes in, it's his administration. Let's look at some things. Let's look at some things to make real impact. You get all full of vigor to do that, and then boom, a global pandemic hits, and you kind of get knocked back on your heels just a bit, and you have to patchwork everything together and sort of go into crisis management mode. But when you get those moments of quiet time where you can then look at some in-house tribal stuff, it's really, really satisfying. And I know that the principal chief is just pleased as punch to be able to do a couple of those things. And we've really been able to, through this crisis as well, enhance, strengthen our bond and our collaboration with the five tribes. I know that it's been something that we've had in place, the intertribal council, things like that, but really we've seen it work in incredible action through this crisis. And I can't say enough about that collaboration, being able to be unified in a united front, sending things to the U.S. Capitol, sending things to the people that need to see them about the things that we care about. It's not just tribes in this country, but Oklahoma tribes, the five tribes together, to be able to get our wants and needs. And definitely make sure that our voice is one that, although we may need things a little bit different than the Cherokees, Choctaws, and Chickasaws and Seminoles, we all are in that same united umbrella, and it's something that we don't take for granted, don't take lightly, and we're so glad to be able to strengthen that collaboration. So
And I'm looking at some of the intertribal council's communications on the CARES Act, and that's probably one of the examples that you're talking about when you talk about the collaborative
absolutely.
negotiation. Can you talk a little bit about that? What's going on in the negotiations between the tribes and the federal government right now?
Absolutely. Thank you, Angel. And one of the things that we've really wanted to highlight here this week for sure is getting something to the Department of Treasury about the fact that the CARES Act, um, while we are so thankful and glad that the 8 billion was earmarked for tribes, was put in there, while before we've seen things exclude tribes and tribal interest and everything like that. We realize that as it's written and as it's going to be rolled out, we feel like maybe it's a little bit, um, I wouldn't say wrong, but maybe just like a little bit unbalanced. And it was, as we look at the CARES Act, we just want the statutory language to be followed. And that is Alaska Native corporations. While we don't have anything against Alaska Native corporations, we just don't feel that it's appropriate for them to be included in any kind of relief aid in this act by the statutory language of this act. And that's what the letter says from ITC, basically in no uncertain term, that um, we know that there are Alaskan First Nations people, Alaska villages, but there's also Alaskan Native corporations, and really The statutory language says that they are excluded as Indian tribes in any kind of language regarding the CARES Act and the relief that's coming. And we just don't want to see any doubling or tripling um, of the fund relief and where it could go and going to business interest and tribal interest. We just wanted to see it 100% tribal to really go and be real monetary impact and relief and aid to the tribes that have really felt this COVID-19 outbreak. And
So are
that's
you
what was
saying that like
reflected in the letter.
the structure of it now allows more of like a corporate kind of relief than, is that what the problem with it
Yes.
is?
Yes,
Okay.
it's more of a like you said right there in the word corporations.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's nothing that we have against the ANCs, anything like that. It's just that by the statutory language of who is eligible and not as Indian tribes,
Mhm.
ANCs are not. We just feel, we want this 8 billion to be as impactful and as far-reaching and as many actual tribes that have really felt actual impact from this as possible. We want it to be that and not another corporate bailout from the government.
Because like a lot of times when people think about relief in their and relief funding in their minds, they're thinking of people who are doing without a home and people who are not able to eat and people who don't have access to different needs, and then the tribes being on the hook with that money have maybe over, some of them are spending well beyond what they projected to spend, and then relief would be a form of replacing those funds,
Right.
unless you're doing a corporate bailout and then you're helping a business just make more money rather than
Yeah.
just people get by. But
And when you talk about the COVID-19, uh, the impact that it's made on tribes, you're not talking about just dollars. You're talking about services. I think people forget about that a lot. I think people they see tribes and they just think, and they've been conditioned to think that way, but they just think casinos, right? They just think they're just wanting that casino money back. Oh, they just can't stand their casinos being closed, anything like that. Not enough people highlight that it's services to the people and where the casino money goes. And there's language put out there from tribes that show exactly the real impact that goes to people. And so we're not just trying to recoup lost revenue, we're trying to recoup lost services and
mhm,
services that have been interrupted and services that, quite frankly, when we're talking about money, we cannot afford to have the services that we provide interrupted. We can't afford to have elders put at risk or children in families that have a need to be interrupted. That need isn't interrupted, so the services can't be interrupted for that need. So those are the kind of things that we think about. I know other people may look at tribes and think casinos, but we think about what those casinos do for our people and the lasting impact that they have on them 365 days a year.
yeah, I mean, that there's a big discrepancy between like what happens in Nevada, in Las Vegas. If every one of those casinos was putting the money back into Nevada, Nevada would probably be one of like the most great enriched service places to live. But when we're talking about our casino revenue, we're talking about school clothing funds, and we're talking about food distribution and elder services and things like that.
Oh,
Is there anything else coming up on the horizon that's going to be taking up a lot of the time of the nation, or are we still kind of monitoring crisis management pretty closely? What's the new, what is the next direction that we're going to be looking at?
okay. As I said, still exploring opportunities to give back in any way we can. We are looking for any avenue whatsoever, whether it be through the generous donations or whether through community activism, partnerships, working with the National Council, just whatever we can do to look through of our processes and see if there's a way that we can possibly do even more emergency aid, things like that. Also, just looking at some in-house stuff, able to look at the chief taking care of some important chief duties, that being getting a cabinet name, things like that. Looking at his opportunities right now. He is in the stages of a second wave of kind of going through those interviews, things like that. Um, but
Can you
also
kind of give us a
realizing that we want to. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you give us an idea on that like cabinet process? I know that's kind of a hot topic right now. Everybody's asking about that cabinet and when it's
Yeah.
going to be in place. Can you talk about how this administration has dove into this cabinet topic? I think it's a little bit different than any other we've seen from my recollection anyway, for sure. And talk about that timeline and how they've done that. Can you enlighten us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. And I think, hey, not to harp on or use COVID-19 as a crutch or excuse in any way, but if there was never this pandemic, we probably have a full cabinet in place that the chief wants right now. But the plain and simple fact is that this has interrupted everything. It's interrupted all of our processes and everything like that. Right now, the main priority is to take care of this tribe and get it through the pandemic and get it back to rolling and working like it regularly does. Um, and identifying the things that we're finding from this pandemic that we can improve on and work on those and make those better coming out of it. Um, Never let a crisis go to waste. And another thing is, with the cabinet positions, the chief has plainly put out there, hey, I want all comers. I want anybody out there that feels like that they can really help this nation in a cabinet position to apply. And he got incredible response, overwhelming response, over hundreds of interviews. So, I mean, you think about that, and he wants to give everybody an equal shot, give them the equal time, and everything like that. Be able to be, and here's another part of it. He wants to be able to look them in the eye and give them the respect to look him in the eye when applying for this very important position. You do not want to make these kind of decisions over a conference call or a phone call. And those have been kind of some of the things that have affected the process as well. And he also wants these people, they're going to have to be confirmed by the National Council. So he wants it to be in a situation where they don't have to go before the council on the telephone. So, you think about all these things and why, maybe anybody out there that goes, what's taking so long with cabinet, or what maybe is the cabinet in place? Yeah, has anybody heard? I think those are the factors maybe not everyone sees that are below the surface of this pandemic. But he is cognizant of what he's got to do, and the team that he's got to get in place, and he's doing that when he can, and he's getting to those things in an expeditious way. It's just taking a little more time than it would have if we didn't have this incurable, untreatable virus.
Do you have like a rough idea of how many applicants we've had and like how many positions we have cabinet wise? Like how many, that's kind of like my curiosity has been like how many people have applied for these positions and there's
Yeah,
like what, 4 or 5
I know it's
cabinet
over a
positions.
hundred. I think it was over 100. Yeah,
A
I don't
lot.
know what the exact. Yeah, I don't know what but he got a great response, and I got a lot. And the good thing is, there's a lot of people wanting to come and work for the nation, do a great job in those departments and in those cabinet positions. And he's got a lot of people that he had to go through, and a lot of decisions to make. So it's been a lot on his plate. Of course, he's got quite a bit on his plate these days, but
Mhm.
in great spirits, and trying to take on as much as he can. This is a principal chief that we kind of have to remind him you can't do every single thing, and we got to get to this and this, but he does a great job, and he cares so much about his people, and that's a good thing. And we just like I said, we'll get those decisions, get those out, and he'll take care of them when he can in the best way possible. Like I said, we don't
Awesome.
want to shortchange anything like a cabinet position, and we want to give it the proper uh, uh, seriousness, respect, and that it deserves and that it calls for.
In the long run, like what do you think our like end goal is timeline wise of having that cabinet in place? Like what do you think? And I know this like has been a huge setback for almost everything in everyone's
Yeah.
lives, but what's it looking like for our government right now?
Well, I'll quote Dr. Fauci here. We don't make the timeline; the virus makes the timeline. And by that, I mean whenever we're eased up to sort of kind of be back in a person to person situation, maybe something like that, I think that's when you'll see a lot more movement in this regard.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
Yep.
All right, I think I have exhausted all of my questions. And if you have anything you want to leave everybody with till next week, um,
Yeah. Yeah, just everybody out there. I hope that you feel like you're getting what you need from your executive branch as far as information. Uh, we want to be transparent. We want to be an open book. We want to take on all the questions that you have. I hope that everybody out there feels satisfied with the answers that we're given, and
Mhm.
to the best of our ability. And if we can't, if we don't have a solution for you, I promise you, every single day they're looking for them under every rock, around every corner, and we're just going to keep on moving and keep on moving forward. And one of the things that the chief had said today was, we took an oath of office to basically keep this tribe going, keep it going, and in the midst of even this, you can't plan for this, but you also can't use it as a reason to not get things done. And that's why, as I've outlined earlier, we're still running the day-to-day operations of the tribe and getting tribal business put into these pockets here and there where we don't have to devote every single second to COVID-19 response. So it's been a good thing to be able to do that.
All right, perfect. Well, I appreciate your time and we'll let you get
Yeah,
back to it and actually maybe try to have some lunch. All
I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much, guys.
right, thanks.
Mhm.